In this little video, I'm going to talk a little more about getting the activities into the player so the students can see them, and then getting the data out so the instructor can grade them. So, to see a lesson, one selects a lesson list from the resource manager, and here you see this lesson demonstration. It's only one lesson in here right now. Why is that in there? Well, if I look at the, let's see here, the Documents folder on my computer, which is the same on a Mac or on a PC, there is an IOLab work files folder. You may be familiar with that already. That's where all the data goes. There's now a new folder in here called lesson, and any HTML file inside of lesson or a subfolder of lesson basically becomes a lesson over here. It will appear in this list, so this file is what contains the commands to step through the lesson, the thing I showed in the last video basically. So all that's required for a lesson is this control file and the location of the images and resources that the lesson requires. So basically it's something that's very easy to bundle together and share between instructors. And all you need to do is drag it into this lesson folder and you're finished. So it provides a very nice mechanism to share lessons from one person to another. Okay, so let me actually start a lesson, and let's think about the data that is produced when a student works their way through this. So here we go. I'm going to work my way into the lesson. So we see here there are data produced when a student answers a question, and there's also data produced when a student does the lab activities. And so let me go to next here. And so the kind of data that we have to store are student answers and data from the device itself, and also the student may zoom in and select regions of their plot for analysis. And so in fact what we want to do is to be able to take a snapshot of whatever the student has done, plus also save the answers to the questions that they may have been asked by the instructor. And so this metadata will be saved along with the lesson as the student works their way through the lesson. In fact, there will be a snapshot button that we will create that a student can click on whenever they're satisfied or particularly interested in what they have on their own screen. That can be saved for the instructor to view later. So let me click my way to the end of this lesson. Okay, so let's say this was the end of the lesson right here. The student has done a lot of activities, answering questions, they have a bunch of data. At this point, they will want to take everything that they have done, bundle it together, and put it into our cloud repository for the instructor to be able to view. There'll be a button to do that. It might just be this button right here, which we now use to send things to the cloud repository. The student would simply click on that. I won't go through that whole thing as you're watching, but basically I'll do it, and then the instructor now can see what the student has done by just running a browser. So here's a browser that I have set up. I can see the repository in this browser. I can see all the student data who have shared the data with me. I can just look at the data that was just created. Here it is. I can manipulate this data. And in fact, what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to see anything that the student has done, anything that the student has saved, their comments, their answers to questions, and so on. So right now only the data is saved, but in the future the metadata will include all of these student answers as well as any manipulation they have done with the graphs. So that's how we imagine this working in the future. Of course, once it's in the repository, it's very easy for Flipit to gather this data and include it with a student's records inside a Flipit course, if that's what we want to do.